welcome to Scale Your Sales podcast. Now, have you ever thought, how can I win 5 times deals repeatedly? Well, today I have the author of the book, How to Win 5 Times Deals Repeatedly. We're going to hear a lot more about that. Lisa D Magnuson is author of not only this book, but 3 other books as well. The Top Sales Leader Playbook, How to Win 5 Times Deals. The Top Seller's Advantage, Powerful Strategies to Build Long-Term Executive Relationships. The 48-Hour Rule, and 3 Secrets to Increase Sales with Existing Customers. Now, Lisa is a mastermind sales strategist with a proven track record of helping clients to land 7-figure deals. The founder of Top Line Sales, Lisa is really roll your sleeves up type of approach that has helped her clients to win contracts totaling over $350 million in new revenue. So welcome to Scale Your Sales podcast, Lisa.
Thank you, Janice.
It's wonderful to have you here. Now, first of all, I'd love to find out, how can we win 5 times deals repeatedly?
Well, you know, I've got 2 answers to that question. The simple answer is that there's a formula. And there's a formula, and you can follow that formula, and you can march down that path, and that path results in 5x deals. And when I say 5x, I mean 5 times your average contract size. So if your average contract size is $100,000, then a 5x deal is $500,000. And you know, that's just a general rule. But when you're talking 5x deals, they require different work than your normal sales process. So that's the second answer. The good answer is there's a path, and you can follow that path, and it leads to those 5x deals. The tricky part is that path can be long, it can be messy, it can be convoluted, and it's time consuming. And so it's really important that once you start down that path, as a matter of fact, the first thing that I recommend with when I work with my clients is that they score their opportunities. And by scoring their opportunities, they really can choose those best opportunities that lend themselves to walking down that path and ultimately developing and closing those really huge deals, which are game changers for their companies.
So when you talk about scoring their best opportunities, what do you mean?
So scoring opportunities, you know, you and I have both been in and around the sales world for a long time. And how often does the VP of sales say, you know, give me your top 10 or give me your top 50 or give me your top 100, you know, especially sort of at different times of the year when revenue might be a little thin, you know, all of a sudden it's like, okay, we need to look at our top opportunities. And if they truly are 5x type of opportunities, then I would recommend that you take those, whatever that number is, top 10, and you score each of them. And I have a scoring tool that I use with my clients, but I customize that tool with every client. So it's not just revenue, and that's what a lot of companies do. So you know, that top 10 list is sort of based on, you know, revenue potential, and if the higher the revenue potential, the higher, you know, the more important it is. And that's not always true. There's other things that go into that evaluation. Things like, you know, is this opportunity a strategic value for your company? You know, maybe you're wanting to bolster a division or enter a new geography, and this opportunity would allow you to get into that geography. Or maybe you need some marquee names, some names that are going to attract other names. So it's worth it for that reason. It would get a high score because it's an opportunity to get a marquee name. Or maybe, you know, there are, you know, other strategic issues, but 2 of the things on my scorecard that I use are, what is the appetite of the account team to do the work that's necessary? So where does the account team's desire and commitment score? Because that has to be high. If they're going to give up because it's hard after a couple months, then that's not a good opportunity for them. And then the second thing that's the flip side of that is, where would the account team score the customer's commitment to go all the way through their buying process to the end, to solve their problem or to capitalize on that opportunity? And do you have access to those people? You know, we know that the number of stakeholders involved with big decisions, that number is growing. I think the latest number from Gartner is 11. You know, that number is just going to continue to grow. So, you know, is the customer committed, and do you have access to those people? You know, quick story. One of my clients I was working with last year on a big opportunity, and they hired me for my war room services, which means we're going to zero in on specific opportunities, and I'm going to be part of their team, and I'm going to help them score, and then we're going to start to work. So we did that. We scored their opportunities, and we came out with the best one, and we started to work on it. And what we realized is that they didn't have access to the people. The opportunity scored really high except for access. And what that means is they couldn't get an appointment. You know, emails weren't getting returned. And I said to the accounting, gosh, let's go back and look at how we scored this, you know, in terms of access. And the VP goes, Lisa, we're just trying to rub two sticks together here. I go, okay, fine. That's where we're going to start. And so we spent a ton of time in our war room work just crafting compelling emails, figuring out literally pulling out all the stops. And long story short, we marched down that path, took us 9 months, and they won that. And it was a 5X deal for them. And it was a game changer. And it was a marquee name. And it's already attracted other customers for them. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's good to know going in, you know, all those things that have to do with scoring an opportunity. Sorry, that was a long answer.
No, that's okay, because and worth the work. And this leads me into your book prior, which is the Top Sales Advantage. And these are the kind of long-term, which you've emphasized, long-term executive relationships and building those relationships. It leads really well into that. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I wrote that book, The Top Seller Advantage, because in working with account teams over the years in different capacities as a consultant in my own business for the last 15 years, but then prior to that, you know, I've always been involved with these big deals. And I was really, you know, saw this pattern where account teams would work so hard over months, maybe even years, to get to that executive sponsor, because that's what was required to win that big deal. They went on, you know, they got there finally, had the meeting, they all high fives after the meeting. It's like, that was the best meeting, you know, because it was best for them because they were sitting in front of an executive, a C-suite executive. You know, and of course they followed up after, you know, thank you, that kind of thing. But they did not stay in touch with that executive. They didn't cultivate that executive relationship. So then flash forward, you know, 2 years later, 3 years later, they wanted to do another big deal with that same company. Well, they didn't have an executive sponsor. That person, the executive's not going to remember them. They just start from scratch. So, you know, my book, that book, the Top Seller Advantage, is not just about how do you get to the executive. It does include, you know, that, but it's how do you stay in touch with that executive? How do you cultivate that executive in an appropriate way over time, so you really leave that door open? And every chapter in that book ends with an interview that I did with an executive, different executive for every chapter. And I asked that executive, why would you take a meeting with a salesperson? What would have to occur during the meeting for you to find it valuable? And what would cause you to leave your door open for future meetings? And they told me. So that actually, people love that about the book, because they get to, you know, read the book. It's very practical. And then they get these executive perspectives, all these different executives, C-suite executives, saying exactly what they would expect and why they would leave their door open.
That's fantastic. So what's, in your view, are the changing dynamics between the buyer and the seller?
Yeah, there's a lot of changing dynamics. There's more people on the buying side. Sometimes there's more people on the selling side. These teams can be big, complex. They can also be international. My war room work, many times the teams can be, maybe it's just 3 or 4 people, but it also could be 15 or 20 people across the globe, and the customer, same thing. So at the end of the day, what does that all mean? These are complex, they're long, they're messy, there's all kinds of people involved. What it means is you have to be organized. You have to be organized to march down that strategic path. You have to have a methodology, which just means a way to march down that path to get to the end zone. And that includes regular account strategy sessions. I call those war room sessions, but commitment to those. It includes exhaustive pre-call planning, exhaustive research. When you're going after that opportunity, you're going after executive sponsors, you're going to have an executive dossier on those key executives. So you have to be so much better organized than you ever have been in the past to capture people's attention, to keep all those people moving forward and organized and communicated to, and with a purpose of getting to the end zone.
What do you think are the key elements to enable that organization? Is it technology? Is it leadership? What are those things that makes that happen?
Yeah, so that is my new book, is all about that. the top, the top Sales Leader Playbook is all about that. And what that book is it includes 4 parts and 16 plays. And so, the 4 parts really are the answer to your question. You said, what does it take? Well, one of the parts is sales leadership. It takes a lot of sales leadership to commit to this, to organize, to lead, to inspire, all of those things. So I have plays that reinforce and identify what's needed under sales leadership. Then you have sales methodology. That's the part 2. And methodology, again, is just how are we going to do it? What's our methodology? What's our way? How do we go after these big deals? What are those steps? What's our system? So you need to have that identified. If everybody's just doing their own thing, then you don't have an engine that's going to produce 5x deals repeatedly. The third part is execution. So execution has to do with, you've identified these things, you got to do them. You have to have the account strategy sessions, which I call war room sessions. You have to do pre-call planning. You have to have an account quarterback that is leading the charge in an active way. And that's all about execution. And the 4th part is culture. So, how do you create a company culture that values and reinforces 5x deals, that prioritizes the activities that have to happen over short-term results? And so I've got plays associated with sales leadership, sales methodology, sales execution, and sales culture. And when you put all those together, creates your big deal engine.
So I want to run something by you, Lisa. I think sales are going through a transformation, or need to, because my view is buyers are good 2 years ahead of where majority of sellers are at the moment.
Such a great point.
Sales, I'm glad you agree with that. Because sales needs to go through a transformation, and that transformation encompasses the whole organization. I feel that needs to sit with the CEO rather than the C-suite sales leader that has to negotiate operations, marketing, all of those things. I don't know what your view is on this.
Yeah, I think, I agree with you that the buyers in some cases are holding more cards, that they're ahead of the sales teams. And I also agree with you that when, you know, that part 4 sales culture, that has to start at the top, But the person that's going to do that work to create that culture is probably your sales leader, your chief revenue officer, your VP of sales. And of course, you know, size of company matters here too. But you know, it's kind of a tandem. So some of the plays in my book are about cross-functional collaboration. Some of the plays are engaging the executive team. So, you know, how do you engage the executive team? How do you make it easy for the executives, not just the CEO, but it could be the chief marketing officer. It could be the CFO, the COO, anyone that, you know, is going to add value to that 5X deal. How do you engage those people and make it easy for them to engage? You know, so the book includes practical ideas for programs, like executive to executive connection programs would be an example of a practical tool that a VP of sales could introduce and socialize and create, you know, an environment where those kinds of programs are running. They don't have to run the whole program. You know, that doesn't have to fall under them, but they're creating sort of, they're the instigator to create this culture, which does have to include the CEO. You are 100% correct. You know, that kind of gets caught up in this whole big deal thing. And boy, I'll tell you, you start to get the ball rolling and it's infectious, because everybody loves a big win. And as soon as you have a big win, everybody wants to have their fingerprint on that. And then if they've codified it, leads to the next and the next and the next. And all of a sudden, you're a company that has a big deal engine, and you can count on that. And you're winning big deals repeatedly.
You talk about culture and working cross company teams. So I want to ask you about diversity. How important do you think that is in sales?
Well, diversity is always important. And when you think about sales, in my world, when I think about diversity, I think about the account team. And so the account team needs to be diverse, and that has to happen not by chance, but by design. And what do I mean by diverse? There has to be diverse roles. There has to be diverse levels of experience. There has to be diverse levels of expertise, perspectives, because I have found over many, many years and so many big deals that the account team gets it right. If you have put together by design a powerful, diverse account team led by a strong account quarterback, backed up by a strong sales leader, could be director, VP of sales usually, then the account team will get it right. So they will make the right choices on who to call on and when and what you're going to talk about. And they'll make the right choices on their strategy. They'll make the right choices about the competition and you know, competitive blocks, or they could be proactive or reactive. They're going to make the right choices about the relationship map. All those things, and that they can only make the right choices if they're a diverse group. And so I talk about it in the book in terms of forming the account team. The other thing with regards to diversity, and quick story, so 2018, I spent interviewing 41 sales VPs, which really shaped the book that I wrote this year. And I was in the middle of that process. These were live interviews, 45 minutes to an hour. So it was a time-consuming process. It took me most of that year. And right kind of in the middle, all of a sudden, I did like an interims finding report. And I realized that most of my interviewees were male. And I hadn't really been paying attention, honestly. I was just wanting to interview, and I really was specific. It had to be a sales VP or above. I only have maybe 2 directors in that 41. So I was more looking at the title. And I'm like, this isn't right. This isn't going to reflect the needs and the perspectives of a total world of sales leaders. And so all of a sudden I had to pivot. And I only, after that, once I realized that, I only would interview female sales VPs. And so I ended up with about 30% of my 41 were female, and I had to work hard to get there. And that was super, just, I'm glad I figured that out midstream, but it was a little discouraging to me that I had to work so hard to find those female sales leaders at that level. So we have work to do in our field.
And so what is the tried and tested strategy that you would offer leaders to scale, our listeners to scale the sales?
So, my go-to answer to that question, pre-call planning. To me, pre-call planning is the best thing that you can do if you want to increase sales and increase your close ratios. I've seen all kinds of statistics. The minimum statistic that I've seen is 20% or better, increasing your close ratio by committing to regular pre-call planning. When you're working on a big deal, pre-call planning is usually involving most of the account team. So that has to happen. But any deal, the pre-call planning to me is an answer for anyone out there selling, because you are improving the quality of the customer conversation. And when you think of how hard it is to get the conversations today, I've seen statistics like it takes like 16 attempts to secure, that conversation. It's like, are you kidding me? If it takes that much work, you're not going to take the time to go through a pre-call plan. And by the way, for your listeners, I have got a dynamite 2-page simple pre-call plan on my website that they can download for free. And I make this available for free because I am just a maniac around pre-call planning in terms of being better prepared, better salespeople, and it's good for the customer and it's good for you. So that's my answer.
Well, thank you for that. I can see you're a maniac about this pre-call planning. So all the listeners have got to go onto your website. I'll leave the link in the show notes. So thank you very much for that. So last question, who would you take with you, or what would you take with you if you're on a desert island?
My husband, of course.
Is he listening behind camera?
No, but I have a good one.
Oh, good. Well, it's good to take him then.
Yeah, it takes a picture thick and thin, so yes.
Excellent. Lisa, how can the listeners get hold of you?
So the best way, visit my website, which is www.toplinesales.com. They can download their free pre-call plan there. Also, if they are interested for sales VPs that might want to find out about my findings after talking to 41, you can download, again, for free, an infographic that talks about those findings. They can click through on all my books, including this brand new book, to learn more and or to order. And also, I've got a contact page, so that's absolutely the best place to go.
Excellent, Lisa. You have been a mind of information, really, really useful, great content. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you for being a guest on Scale Your Sales podcast.
Thank you.